All right, continuing on with the choruses, we have the vintage chorus. This insert effect is pretty cool. I like this one a lot. It's pretty simple, but effective. So it does color the signal right off the bat. I have noise going through a spectrum analyzer. And if I turn this effect on at all the way wet, see that we lose high end. I'm not sure why that is. I'm not sure if pedals have a thing where they are not able to reproduce, the full signal that goes into them or whatever. But either way, I do like that it does that. I think it's pretty cool that it just adds like a little touch of something. Even if you are losing information, I still like it. So uh, for this effect, we are in mono mode. So let's go to 50% dry and 50% wet. What mono mode does is it mixes the chorus with the original signal if you're on 50-50 dry wet. Later on, if we switch to stereo, we'll end up going full wet, and I'll explain why in a bit. So we have the manual control, which is going to delay the wet signal by some amount. And to show that, I think it's a lot easier if I use a saw wave. So let's also switch to a stereo. Actually, left is just fine for now. So you can see let's go dry first. It's a saw wave, and then if we go wet. So right off the bat, we know that the dry signal, or we know that the wet signal that's being mixed with the dry signal already has some delay. If I were to go all the way wet, by the way, it would just look like a sawtooth again. But mixing it with the original, I guess a sawtooth that has the high end limited. So you can see it looks a bit rounder from that. Going to 50-50, we see that it has some delay, and with the manual control, we can set the amount of delay. And that is completely reminiscent of the double saw oscillator. So with this effect, I can bring it up, and actually to compensate for the extra waveform, I'll bring this down a bit. And I can adjust the phase of the second saw here. It's pretty much exactly the same. Checking it in the effect again. Now, this is a delay by some amount. I'm not exactly sure what it goes up to. It's probably between like 0 and 25 milliseconds like the last one. Somewhere in there. That's like the, like I would say like, yeah, like anywhere between like 10 and 30 milliseconds is probably like chorus delay range. Anything below that gets into like flange territory. But we have this depth knob, and that's controlling, that's having the LFO control this manual control. And to show that off, it's probably easier for me to go into stereo and to also put this in stereo. So looking at it like this, we need to put it on all the way wet. What this does is the left channel will be the dry signal, and the right channel will be the delayed signal. So if we look, you can see the right channel moving. And if we apply some LFO depth to the manual control, we get back and forth movement. With depth all the way up, the manual control actually doesn't do anything. Depth will only go the distance of the manual control. So let's say that we're like 3 blocks away from this R right here. And then we can move about 3 blocks over. Actually, let's use a different reference point. Let's use this marker right here, and then we're going to move it probably about over there. Yep. So then if I turn up, let's put it at 50. So we're halfway between those spots, and then if I turn up the depth, move the entirety of that range. And now if I move the manual control, it doesn't do anything. So the LFO itself can be controlled by an alternate modulation source. The rate of it can be controlled by that. Yep, so that's really it for this. Of course, we can control depth with another AMS. Yeah, so it's just a pretty simple pedal. You can use this to create like a Haas delay, I think it's called, if you wanted to kind of create like a stereo position. So with it on stereo and with it on all the way wet, let's put the manual control all the way down, and let's listen to it in the dry signal, which is going to be mono. And then instantly when I turn it on, it'll give us some width. Oh, actually, let's turn the depth all the way down now. So you can hear how that shifts the stereo image. You could even look at it in a vector scope. Cool. Yeah, that's pretty much it for this plugin.